This video is sponsored by Card Kingdom. You can pre-order Kaldheim there right now if you click on my referral link in the description below. Hi everyone, I'm Nitsa Hone, and today is Wednesday, so that means it's time for another MTG Top 10, the series that normally looks at the cards that have had the biggest impact on competitive Magic. However, that's not what we're doing today. As usual, when a new set releases, I do a full set review of the cards for the limited format, and an MTG Top 10 usually gets taken over by the set review around that time, so that I can give my picks for the biggest bombs in the limited format. In Magic, a bomb is a card so powerful that it can single-handedly win games and swing games wildly in your favor. In my set review, bombs receive an A grade. In all, Kaldheim had about 20 cards receive that grade, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 10 that I think are the absolute best. The cards on this list are all rares or mythic rares. If you want to hear me talk about more than just those cards, as I mentioned, I did an entire set review on the format, and there are some powerful commons and uncommons too, but none of them are going to make this list. These are, in short, the cards you most hope you end up with in your sealed pool or that you open up in your first pack in a draft. Alright, let's get to the list. At number 10, I have Halvar God of Battle, who's a double-faced modal card with Sword of the Realms on the other side. So, the Halvar side of this card is definitely a pretty build-around-y kind of card. He wants you to have auras and equipment, and if you do, he makes them a heck of a lot better because anything that's enchanted or equipped gets double strike. Double strike turns just about anything into a threat, and if it has equipment or aura on it, that will be doubly so. Additionally, you can move one aura or equipment every turn for free, which is nice. If it was just the Halvar side, I would say this is probably a little bit too much of a build around to make a list like this, because you do need to significantly value auras and equipment to really make him excel. And this set does have lots of at least solid auras and equipment that will make him pretty good. What really pushes him into this list is the other side of the card, which is good on basically any board state, provided you have a few creatures. Giving a creature +2/+0 in Vigilance isn't the most exciting thing ever on Sword of the Realms, but when your creatures just never die, you can just put this on things and attack. You'll have free attacks. They can take it, and if they do, you still have a blocker. They can block it, and if they do, you get the card back. All in all, Sword of the Realms itself can take over games, and basically the way it will work, most likely in Limited, is you'll play Sword of the Realms if you don't have any aura or equipment. If you have some auras and equipment, you'll play Halvar, and it's great that it has that flexibility and that both sides can just take over games, and that's what got him here at number 10 on this list. At number 9, I have Firia's Retribution. So this saga is really, really powerful. So Chapter 1 makes you a 4/4 white Angel Warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. That's already a good deal for 4 mana. Then the next turn, all your angels turn into removal spells, and then the turn after that, all your angels gain double strike. So the thing that really makes this great is you don't even need to have other angels around for this to have a huge impact on the game. Even if all you have is the angel that this saga makes for you in Chapter 1, you're paying 4 mana for a ton of value. You get the token, then it kills something, then it gains double strike, and since it has flying and vigilance, it's going to be pretty easy to attack with that angel. And then if you have other angels, which is likely because there are several of them in black-white, it's going to become completely absurd. But you do have to look at this and sort of say, well, I'll probably have one in play a lot. And if that's true, it's still a really good card, and it's definitely a bomb, a card you first pick every single time you see it. It can take over games without any help, and with help, it will definitely take over games. At number 8, I have Goldspan Dragon. This is a creature that just has great stats to begin with, as a 5-mana 4/4 with flying and haste. But then it's really good at making treasure, and not only that, but all your treasures start to produce more mana. So, you know, treasure's not necessarily the kind of thing that can take over a game single-handedly, but this format does have a lot of mana sinks, particularly when it comes to boast. And if you're in red, you probably have some boasters and you have places to use that mana. Additionally, this gives you a bomb that also gives you fixing, which is not a thing you usually have. And it's nice that even if your opponent kills it right away, like if they target it the minute it hits the table, you do get a treasure token. So you get some value out of it no matter what. It's not the most exciting value, but it is value. And usually, because it has haste, you'll also at least get in for one hit. So, you know, you're going to get value out of this no matter what, and it's usually going to hurt your opponent even if they have removal. And if they don't have removal, well, they probably lose. So yeah, this flying, hasty dragon can take over games with its stats, and then the treasure tokens that it makes can be utilized pretty effectively in this format. At number 7, I have Burning Rune Demon. So this is probably the least exciting of the cards on this list, just because it doesn't do anything that interesting. It does have a huge text box. But basically, all it does, first of all, it's got great stats as a 6-mana 6/6 flyer that can take over games in limited. But what pushes it into bomb status is that big text box. And basically, what that does is you choose 2 cards from your deck with different names. Your opponent chooses one that goes in your graveyard and the other one goes in your hand. So effectively, he is a 6-mana 6/6 flyer that's going to draw you a really good card. It might be the second best card left in your deck instead of the best one because your opponent will get rid of your best one. But there's kind of fun mind games to have there too. Like if you grab a removal spell into creature, your opponent may not know which one you actually need. Like if you already have a removal spell in your hand, maybe you don't actually need the removal. And your opponent will decide to give you the creature because they're worried about removal. So there's some funny things going on there. But basically, it's a 6-mana 6/6 with flying that draws you the second best card in your deck. And that is not only card advantage, but powerful card selection. Searching something up that can, if your Burning Rune Demon dies, also take over the game is going to be pretty nice. So yeah, Burning Rune Demon is a bomb because of the card advantage and card selection it grants you, in addition to the crazy efficient stats. Next up, I have Valkyrie God of Lies, another double-faced modal god, who on the other side is Tybalt Cosmic Imposter. So the Valkyrie side of this card is really good. It on its own would not be a bomb, but what's really nice is this powerful late-game Planeswalker can be played as a 2-drop if you need to, and it's a pretty good 2-drop. It'll exile a card from your opponent's hand, and then can transform into that card, and that's pretty cool. And it certainly makes Tybalt better, because the Tybalt side is the side that's really the crazy bomb. It gives you an emblem that lets you play cards that are exiled with it, and then the +2 and -3 both exile things. Actually, the -8 does too. So, he's got removal connected and basically card advantage, because if you +2 and exile a card from the top of their library, you can then play that card. So he's kind of drawing you a card in a roundabout way with the +2, killing stuff with the -3 that, by the way, you can also play. And then he has a pretty powerful ultimate that will just give you a pile of cards exiled from both graveyards and a little bit of mana. That's the side that would probably be a bomb even on its own, but it gets to be a little bit better because it's not just something you can play in turn 7. The Valkyrie side is some good upside to have that lets you do something early with the card if you need to. So yeah, in general, these double-faced modal cards have really cool designs because you have the card that's sort of multi-purpose. And both Halvar and Valkyrie really showcase that pretty effectively, and they're both in this top 10 video, partly because of the fact that they have 2 sides that are both pretty good. Next up, it's Starnheim Unleashed. So, on a base level, this card is 4 mana for a 4/4 White Angel Warrior creature token with Flying and Vigilance. We've already seen that on this list, and that's a pretty good deal. This one only costs 1 color, but what pushes this over into bomb range is its Foretell. So, this card is crazy good in terms of foretell. So, a lot of the time in this format, people on turn 2 will be foretelling things. It's kind of, when we've had Morph in a format, that's pretty much what everyone's doing on turn 3. We're going to have a lot of that with foretell in this set. And the crazy thing about Starnheim Unleashed is you can just foretell it on turn 2, and then just wait until a point in the game where it might be useful to cast. And pretty much whenever you do cast it, like if you can't do something else, you cast it, or if you're going to die without its help, you cast it. And it's crazy efficient. Like if you pay 5 mana, you get 2 of these angels. 5 is probably the sweet spot in terms of value, but the game may go on longer. This format doesn't look like an especially fast one. And if it does go on longer, it's just going to get more powerful, and it'll be something you have in your back pocket that you need. You can, of course, also use it to just pressure your opponent early. But that's the great thing about these foretell cards, is you can kind of set it aside. And this one's more flexible than most because you can foretell it for various mana costs and get additional value out of it. And the value you get out of it is insane because it gives you an Angel Warrior army. At number 4, I have Eradicator Valkyrie, our third angel to make the list. This one is a 4 mana 4/3 with flying and lifelink and hexproof from Planeswalkers. That last part won't come up a ton in limited, but who knows. It really gets its value from the flying and lifelink, and that would already be a really good card, but it's pushed all the way to bomb status by its boast ability, which is basically a symmetrical edict effect. You can pay 1 generic and a black and sack a creature, and your opponent has to as well. So while Eradicator Valkyrie is attacking in the sky, making the race very difficult for your opponent because every single time she hits your opponent, the gap between your life and theirs is 8. And that is a huge amount to overcome. But she's also picking away at their board while she does it. Now, you won't always have stuff to sacrifice that you want to sacrifice, but it frequently will be the right move. Pressuring them in the air while also picking away at their board is great, and that's what makes Eradicator Valkyrie a bomb. At number 3, I have Kaya, the Inexorable. So she is a very, very powerful planeswalker. She has a +1 that puts a ghost form counter on one of your creatures, and what this counter does is it makes it so that when that creature dies, you return it to your hand, and you get a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. If it only did one or the other there, make a spirit or return it to your hand, it would be pretty good. It does both. It gives you a spirit token with flying, and you get that card back to your hand. So she doesn't protect herself in as clear of a way as some planeswalkers. She doesn't just like come down and start making tokens to protect her straight up, but she makes it so your creatures will be better at protecting you because they're going to come back and they'll leave spirits behind who can protect her. So she does effectively protect herself. Her -3, also very powerful. It's a removal spell for anything, and that's great. Her ultimate actually isn't that good in limited. You're not going to have that many legendaries, but, doesn't matter. Her +1 and -3 are very powerful, and they alone can take over games. Her +1 gives you insane value, and her -3 kills anything, no questions asked, and that's what makes Kaya the Inexorable into one of the biggest bombs in this format. At number 2, I have Coma, Cosmo Serpent. So it does have a difficult-ish mana cost, since it's, double colored of 2 different colors, but it's well worth it. Coma will take over games in an insane way. First, he spits out a Serpent token every upkeep. Again, remember that it says every upkeep. I guess it says each upkeep, but you know what I mean. Each upkeep you get a 3/3 Serpent, whether it's your opponent's or yours. We're used to seeing it on our upkeep. This is on every upkeep. You get a 3/3 Serpent. And that would be good enough, right? It's churning out a 3/3 every turn. But what helps it make this list is that it can sacrifice those Serpents that it just endlessly makes and use them to make itself indestructible, or use it to tap down a permanent and take away its activated abilities. One of these, indestructibility, is something that will make it hard for Coma to die. And this being hard to kill is not good news for your opponent because it's going to keep making Serpent tokens that can continue to fuel that ability. The tap aspect of the card is generally going to be a more aggressive decision, and sometimes that is what you'll need to do. But the indestructibility is really what pushes Coma over the top because it's hard to kill, and it's a win condition, an extremely powerful one. And that's what gets it to number 2. Relating to that mana cost that is difficult, it's worth noting fixing in this format is pretty good, especially if you're in green, and this format looks to be pretty slow. And that's also good news for Coma. But yeah, takes over games. Serpent tokens will help him kill people and also protect himself and shut down opposing permanents. And at number 1, I have Emmersterm Predator. So like Coma, it starts out as a pretty scary creature, a 4-mana 3/3 flyer that every time it attacks, exiles a card from a graveyard, and that means you can go after your opponent's graveyard, which is sometimes going to be worth it. But even if it's not worth it, it gets a +1/+1 counter every time it becomes tapped, provided it has something to exile in a graveyard. So that alone would be a really good card, but like Coma, it's pushed over the edge into bomb status, and not just bomb status, but potentially, I think, obviously, the best bomb in the format. And that's because it has an ability that lets you sacrifice any creature to give it indestructibility, which means, like Coma, it's hard to kill. Also, like Coma, its advantage will continue to snowball because it gets larger and larger. But what it has on Coma is that it costs a lot less mana. It can take over games a lot earlier than Coma can. But they are pretty similar cards, and it's kind of funny. They're both just like very, very powerful creatures who they just added, by the way, you can make this indestructible to the card. And that's what really pushes them both over into bomb status instead of merely very, very good card status. Well, those are my picks for the biggest limited bombs in Kaldheim. If you want to buy any of the cards in this video or order Kaldheim sealed product, I have you covered. In the description below, you'll find a link to the Card Kingdom store as well as individual links for each of the cards featured in this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and share it so that others can enjoy it too. If you want to make sure you catch future MTG Top 10s and future limited content, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you're looking for my set review for Kaldheim, you should see the playlist on your screen now. Thanks for watching.